Alright, it does look pretty cool. The cat's meowing because he just really wants to see how cool this is. So I finally got my tax refund back in the form of the biggest honkin' graphics card I have ever seen. In case you're thinking you're going to see a lot of in-depth footage, this is going to be mostly photos because when I work, I prefer to work with two hands, and I don't have any friends, so no one was around to hold the camera for me. The EVGA GTX 1080Ti FTW3 Elite Edition, which is why it's in this cool red color denoted by the sticker on the box, is going to cost you $774.99, but after sales tax and shipping, which if you live in a state that's got sales tax like I do, it comes out to $856. This was all especially frustrating for me because I live within driving distance of EVGA and I could not bribe them with pizza, so I could just pick up my card and forego all that. So the first thing you might notice about this card, or that you heard about on a million forums with this card, is it is gargantuan. It is a monster. Here's what Albertsons considers a large banana for scale, followed by, as a point of reference, EVGA's 970 Superclocked Edition. This thing is enormous. I have a Corsair 750D Obsidian case, that's the big one for those of you that don't know, and it barely fits in my big honkin' full tower case. The size of this thing cannot be understated. This thing is bigger and longer than a Sony PlayStation 1. It is huge. And to boot, it's heavy. It is easily the heaviest part in my PC. It is heavier than my power supply. Just if you ever get a chance to hold one of these things, it is mind-boggling, like the weight they have somehow put into this thing. Which is probably to do that it's got a 3-fan setup, lots of coolant pipes, and a backplate comes pre-installed because otherwise this thing would droop like no one's business. The reason I'm going so into the size of this monstrosity of a card is because that creates the first problem with it. It is a pain to install. I ended up having to use 2 different kinds of screwdrivers and just barely guiding it in because the card is so large it obfuscates the point where I put my screws in to connect it to the motherboard in the case. And that's never a problem I have ever had before with the graphics cards. I've had some larger cards, but they have never been so big that I couldn't access the screws to get it all the way in there. Alright, it's all in. My PC is still messy. I did not bother to dust because I'm a slob. Now, if this doesn't start, I am gonna cry. Oh wow, everything started at once. Oh yeah, I haven't even bothered to install drivers. Fuck. Wait. The 1080Ti FTW3 Edition accepts nothing less than 2 sets of 8-pin power cables directly into your power supply. And they don't come with them. I had to salvage both my power cables from my 2 970s I previously had installed to get this thing to sufficient levels of power slurping. It does come with a couple power adapters, but they're only about 5.5 inches long. I guess the logic there was EVGA thought that anybody that was going to spend nearly $800 before taxes and shipping on a graphics card is probably going to shell out another $30 for the EVGA power link. This mildly annoys me, but it wasn't the end of the world. Once you get the whole thing plugged in, you'll go to the back to install your monitors, and you'll notice that you get 2 display ports, 2 HDMI ports, and 1 DVI port. I ended up having to go buy an adapter because I've got 2 DVI-based monitors, since I'm the kind of idiot that has old monitors for a new graphics card. But, $15, whatever. Now let's get to the part that you are probably waiting for this video to get to. How does it benchmark? Like, whoa. Whoa, that's how it benchmarks. So far, I have yet to find a game that I couldn't get less than 150 frames a second for at a 1080p all ultra settings. For example, I average about 165 frames a second on Shadow of Mordor with the big 6 gigabytes of texture package that they tell you don't even look at unless you've got 6 gigabytes of RAM to spare. This card laughs in the face of Deus Ex Mankind Divided with all its uncanny valley skin textures. And as far as general overclocking goes, EVGA has a special version of Precision X for this card that allows you to individually monitor all 3 major areas of heat. And here's what happens if you press the K-Boost button. Whoa. This isn't even any serious overclocking, this is just telling the card to floor it. We're only at 100% right now. I don't think I'm ever going to need to overclock this unless I'm trying to render a physical truck into the real world. I have a feeling that even when I upgrade to a 1440p or even a 4K, this thing is going to have no problem with anything I throw at it, rendering, video editing, or gaming for years to come. It feels like an investment. It's expensive, but oh boy, it is powerful. And that about wraps it up for the EVGA 1080Ti FTW3 with the fun Elite Edition colors. I, for one, know I am going to be having a lot of fun playing on my Nintendo Switch, which I am currently obsessed with, but I'll get to this eventually.